Hey guys, so today I want to show you a couple of stretches that we will often prescribe for patients who might be dealing with low back pain, hip pain, maybe even knee pain, especially when we find a lot of restriction and tightness through the front of the hips here. So these are going to be more geared towards the hip flexors, so muscles involved with flexion of the hip, okay? But before we show you these, I want to go over a little bit of anatomy with you and just kind of explain why tightness through here can cause pain, especially in that low back. So when we're talking about the hip flexors, there's a couple muscles involved. The first one, the primary hip flexor, is, I guess it's two separate muscles, but it's called the iliopsoas muscle. So you have your iliacus and then you have your psoas. So just to kind of show where those are at here, the iliacus is right on the inside of the pelvis, and it comes down and then it attaches right on the inside of the hip here on this little bump on the inside. And then the psoas muscle actually attaches to all five of our lumbar vertebrae, and it comes down kind of in that same path, crosses over that hip joint here, and it attaches onto that same point there. So as these two muscles are coming down through this area here, they form, or they kind of conjoin and form the iliopsoas muscle. And then the second one, so its primary role, the iliopsoas, is hip flexion. It also has some function and rotation of the hip, but it also, the psoas here it causes some lateral or some side bending of the back as well. So just kind of important here is these two hip flexors here cross the hip joint, okay? So the second one that we're going to talk about is one of our quad muscles. There's 4 quad muscles. The one that we're talking about, though, is the rectus femoris. And this one, it starts on the hip, but then it starts front of the hip, but then it goes all the way down the leg, crosses the knee joint, and it attaches onto what's called the tibial tuberosity, where your patellar tendon is. Okay, so pretty important there because this one crosses the hip and the knee joint. So we're gonna have a little bit of a different, technique stretching wise as far as that goes. So those are our two. So the rectus also is involved in hip flexion, and then also with knee extension as well, which is important for running and walking, stuff like that. So tightness through here, one of the ways that it causes pain is specifically in that low back is if we're restricted through the front here. So obviously this is fine, but what happens is as we try to extend backwards, we're not able to get full hip extension this way. So this is important for running. And when that happens, if it gets a little bit stuck through there, the low back, something has to give, and it's usually that low back. So the low back starts to arch backwards like that, just to get a little bit more extension. And then the other thing that happens is, if these are tight here, the hips start to kind of roll forward this way, and it's the same kind of effect on the low back. So as these roll forward into this anterior pelvic tilt, that low back starts to arch and kind of jam on these joints back there. So that can cause some of that low back pain, where the set joints back there, they're taking on more load, more stress, and can lead to some pain there. Okay, so 2 stretches here. One is going to be for the iliopsoas muscle, and then the other one is going to be for the rectus femoris. So they're similar setups, but a little bit of a tweak here and there. So the first one, iliopsoas here, what you're going to do setup wise is just get in a nice lunging position here. And the big thing that we want to avoid with this is too much extending backwards or even forward. So we just want to keep the back nice in a nice neutral position here. And what you can try and do, even to take it a little bit further, is if you try to squeeze those glutes together, it'll help to basically rotate that pelvis backwards. So it'll increase the stretch that we get on this muscle. So come in here, squeezing the glutes, nice and neutral here, and then all you're gonna do is you're just gonna lean forward. You're gonna lunge forward this way. And then if you wanna take it a step further from that, how we talked about the psoas is involved in some side bending. You can take the arm of the leg that's down and then bring it up over the top and just give it a little bit of a side bend to the opposite side there. So this is a really good way just to stretch out that iliopsoas muscle there. So I would hold that for about 15-20 seconds or so, and then switch into the other side. Okay. Now the second one here for the rectus femoris, remember that this one crosses the hip and the knee joint here. So in order to get a full stretch, we want to put some bend in this knee back here. So what we're going to do is, you can do this it's called the couch stretch or the chair stretch. But what you're going to do is we're going to pop a foot up, okay? And then we're going to come all the way down like this, basically into that same lunging position, but now we're bending at the knee, so we're getting a full stretch on that rectus muscle there. So same thing here, nice and neutral. If you can, try to tuck that pelvis down just a little bit, and then we're going to lunge forward, and you're going to feel this, here all the way down the leg there. Okay, so just a little bit different technique there, but both of those are super helpful if you're having a lot of tightness or a lot of tension on the front side of your hip, okay? And then same thing there, hold that for about 15-20 seconds, switch sides. So that's what I got for you for today. If you have any questions, let us know. Other than that, we'll talk to you guys soon.